Hello and welcome to the Roughneck Minute, a Movies by Minute podcast where we go over the movie Starship Troopers 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew.
And I'm your other host, Johann.
We're at minute 36. This minute begins with the Roger Young making a turn out of the dock and ends with the star drive about to engage. So yeah, Carmen continues her egress out of the dock, and she starts making a sharp turn.
She starts creating her chaos, like it continues.
Yes. So I have an issue. I have multiple issues with this whole entire minute. And I will go on and on. We've had issues with this whole entire sequence.
Yeah. I have my notes about the way she pulls out of the dock that probably isn't as detailed as yours, but it's very obvious that there's problems with the way she's coming out of the dock.
Yeah, she basically, instead of a normal thing to do, even like for like cruise ships or anything like that, is to pull out of the dock, still go behind you, and then turn once make sure that you're maybe about 2 lengths of the ship away from anything that you could hit. I'm pretty sure regulations, or again, who knows, because the fleet may be run by Carmen likes, who are like, yeah, turn it real quick. Turn it like that.
No, because even if you're driving a car, you don't come out of a parking space like this if you're next to another car.
You don't like hearing your proximity alarm go off and say, you are 3 inches from the other car.
No, I mean, it's incredibly reckless because I don't know how much my car weighs. Maybe it's 1.5 tons, maybe 2 tons. No, I don't think it's 2 tons. I only have a small Scion. But this is 1 million tons of Starship, as they were saying, and it's just you have a bigger front end than a car, so you have to be a lot more careful. And even if I were to have a passenger in a car, it's just like, all right, I can't be reckless because there's one person in a car. This one, you have like thousands of people that you're responsible for. And it's just one person that's really reckless that you have to account is in charge of the lives of thousands of people that are on the ship and on the dock itself, like dock workers.
Yeah, actually, we see a few dock workers as she turns. There's a few on top of the docking arm as well too, and they're in their spacesuits, and they're wondering what the heck's going on. Why is it getting so close? As she turns, it goes from inside to outside the ship. Inside, everyone is kind of not freaking out, but they're just like, "What's going on? What are you doing?"
They're like, "What are you doing? Do you know how to fly?"
Yeah. I mean, the captain looks a bit concerned, and Xander is like, "Whoa!" He kind of like gets out of his seat a little bit, and so there's a little bit of an alarm go up, but it's a minor alarm. It's a brrr, brrr. It's not like a warning klaxon that should be going off like whoop whoop again, and it says 5 meter. What is it?
5 meters to 3 meters.
Yeah. So because we're in America and imperial is the way that we measure things, 5 meters is about 15 feet. 3 meters is about 9 feet.
9 feet.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're in a car, that means you're about roughly like 5 centimeters to 3 centimeters from hitting a next car. Actually, about 5 millimeters to 3 millimeters, considering the size proportion of the actual vehicle.
Yeah, and so during the scene when it's actually going to clear, like when it goes from 3 meters to clear, because she actually doesn't, wreck the ship. She doesn't scratch the paint or anything like that. Like, what is it? What is his name?
Galaxy Quest?
Yes. What is his name? Laredo.
Yeah, Laredo.
Oh gosh, shout out to Galaxy Quest Minute. They should be starting out pretty soon.
Yeah, we're like, it's just like scraping up at the side like the whole way out.
It's like this long thing. I cringe at that point too because it's just a horrible noise.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
You can see like the dock workers that are on the first look, they're up at the top. They're like waving like you're too close before the warning comes up. So they already know like this is not just a normal way of backing up.
Yeah.
Then it goes to her smiling her little face off because she's about to kill, or she could possibly kill tons of people. She doesn't care. Then it looks to the front of the port, and you can see dock workers like running away because they know it's way too close.
Yeah. So yeah, oh yeah, do you see at the front of it they're on that like yellow gangway kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not running away, they're backing up. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Kind of thing.
Yeah, but like even like the smallest hit could destroy the entire front.
It could.
All those dock workers could just be floating in space hoping they get rescued.
Yeah, okay, think of it like this. So those dock workers look pretty darn small when you look at the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
On average, a person is about 2 meters tall, maybe about 6 feet. So if, say, like a dock worker was using his magnetic boots to have, like, stand up on the side of the dock arm, he could, say he's 6 feet, he could reach up, touch the Roger Young as it moves by, because it is 9 feet close. So he can literally reach up and touch it as it moves by. That's how close it is.
No, yeah. They could have just transferred, like if they were on a dock that's about to get destroyed, they could have jumped onto Roger Young because it was so close.
They could have. I mean, like, at that point, it's so close that if you have magnetic boots, you can just, like, clamp onto them. If they have crampons, they can just cramp, I'm pretty sure there's handholds and whatnot on the Raj that they can, get onto as well, too. And I'm going to actually be calling it the Raj from now on, because that's what they call it in the book. And that's what they should be calling it anyway, the Raj.
The ROG, not RAJ.
Yes. Right? RODG.
Oh, okay.
RODGE, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I think even if they managed to jump onto the Raj for safety, I still think Carmen would have just jumped into light space, like just or light speed, regardless.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's people on the side of it? Okay, whatever.
Or what's it called? They call it Star Drive.
Star Drive, yeah. Well, actually, the captain does call it warp at one point as well too. But we'll get to that because I still got problems.
All right.
So Xander actually tells her, she's like, hey, as soon as like everything is clear, everyone looks around, you know, everyone is like kind of like everyone unclenches, you know, breathes. Everyone was holding their breath and unclenches basically. Yeah. Because that was pretty darn close.
The one thing that's weird is in the script, they don't have Carmen as reckless as she is here. At least at this point.
So what's the point of her being reckless?
The crazy pilot thing, I guess. But so
it pays off for one thing though. That's the thing.
It doesn't even pay off that well.
No, it doesn't. So what's the point of her like being reckless?
Yeah. So like the thing about that seems like she was reckless about is where she disengages the umbilical too late. Or that she comes out of the dock too fast. Because it says the ship shudders under her hand. She winks at Xander. Then in simulation, my supervisor couldn't keep up with me. Said this isn't simulation anymore, blah, blah, blah. And she spins smoothly away from the dense orbiting yards. And she just points towards the lunar system. So it might have been just a little bit reckless. But nothing too bad. And then Carmen says, or basically in the retort of this isn't a simulation anymore. Because he tells them like the vector where they're supposed to go in the script. And then Xander tells her they revoke our flight status. Carmen says, oh, I see, teamwork. Not the your career's in my hands type of thing that she's just enjoying the fact she has this power over Xander now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second too.
Yeah. But when she comes out of the dock, she just kind of goes past other freighters well. She doesn't do anything reckless in the script.
Okay, so she's...
It's only in the movie that she does this. So it wasn't a payoff that was written in the script. It was a payoff that was written once they started filming. So it really still doesn't make sense why they added it to make her seem reckless.
Yeah. And so as
I guess
Go ahead.
I guess it was just to add more suspense, like the tightening of the sphincter moment as she's about to collide with the dock and then goes free, just to add more action in a slower paced point of the movie.
Yeah, let me actually play that part, the music actually, because the music is kind of nice at this point too, where she's moving out. It's kind of a scary little sound that it makes as well too. So let me just turn that on real quick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't really remember the music that plays in it.
Well, this is it right here. So this is the little klaxon that's going on.
5 meters from object.
5 meters.
3 meters from object.
3 meters.
Clear.
And as soon as she clears, it gets all nice and pretty. But yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like this suspenseful music, dun dun kind of thing. But yeah, so as soon as that happens, Xander tells her, "Hey, don't exceed port speed." And Carmen tells him or asks him, "Or what?" That makes me so upset.
See, I like the way the music kind of brought it in. It had that ascending violins or strings that were just coming up, just to, I guess, like, just it was to build the suspense, and in the background you can kind of hear the cymbals to build pace for everything. So I don't know. I don't think the music made it more tense, but the moment did.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't, there's nobody out there. If you were in a passenger seat of someone driving this reckless, you'd be like, "Well, hey, what are you doing?" Type of thing. There's tons of YouTube videos about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hold on to the chicken handle, as my wife calls it, all the time whenever she drives. Not because I'm afraid of her driving. I kind of am. But because I don't feel comfortable when other people drive. It's weird. It's a weird thing. Like, I always need to hold on to something.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, so scene changes a little bit from the outside, and Xander tells her, "Hey, don't exceed port speed." And Carmen asks, "Or what?" Which makes me so mad. I was about to say a bad word, but it makes me so mad. I even have it in my notes, a bad word as well too. But she is basically saying, "Oh, I shouldn't speed. Why shouldn't I speed? You should tell me why I shouldn't speed, because I'm thinking about being bad," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Xander tells her, "Oh, if you do, they revoke your flight status and mine as well." And she smiles, giddy as heck, and says, "Your career's in my hands." Which, again, makes me so mad. Number one, her flight status should have been revoked. His flight status should have been revoked for the whole entire docking sequence. That should have just been revoked. The captain should have came up and said, whoa, hold on, what are you doing? No. Number two, take over. Okay. Number two, your flight status is revoked. We're going to need to be in Moon or Orbit for a little bit to get a new flight crew on this. Guys need to leave. I'm sorry, but your cadet is reckless and almost endangered the whole entire crew. I'm sorry, but she needs to leave.
Yeah. There's something I noticed when they're filming that scene of the Raj coming out of port. No one is sitting in their chairs comfortably except for the two people up front, and it was to get that center shot. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but they're kind of off-centered on these, like, looks like hard chairs, but it is just, I mean, I understand from the photography point of view, but maybe they could have just shifted the chairs.
They could have, but I think it was for the shot only.
Yeah, and I was realizing, like, these lamps that are over them, they're IKEA lamps. Like the single LED light from a long time ago, the one with a tiny, tiny bulb.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is.
Yeah, they're IKEA lamps. This was when IKEA was, like, super cheap because it was made for college students and single guys.
I liked IKEA when I was single. It was a great place. Unfortunately, they closed the closest one to me, but I had to drive, like, to City of Industry to get that new one.
Yeah, no, because I'm looking up for like a new bed frame, and I'm looking at it like, God, these things are so expensive now.
Well, now, yeah.
So,
Well, maybe they increase their durability as well too, because I remember building a few things and they would just break apart.
yeah, I know, but that was the purpose because they were cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Go ahead.
anyways,
Yeah.
no, because I was looking for a bed frame and I see like a wooden one for like $100. Then I go to Amazon, I see a metal one for $84. I'm like, oh, like
Might as well get that 84 one. I mean, you don't have to build it.
Yeah, and with Amazon Prime, you get free shipping.
Ooh, on anything.
Yeah.
If it's Prime same day, you can get it same day with over $35 of product or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is not an Amazon ad. We don't need to talk about this.
Yeah.
All right. All right. As I said, they should have been revoked. Deladier, the captain tells Carmen to keep it steady as she goes, and for Xander to plot a course for Jupiter using warp, the star drive. Now, so we get a screen, one of our first screens on here since, the school or anything like that. This is a screen that kind of shows the known solar system or the solar system as they have it. They have presets for each planet in the system as well too. So it looks at Saturn, it looks like Neptune, and then it shows Jupiter. Some of the things that we have on here are for like position, roll, line, norb, pivot, lay, scan, place, analyze, preference, diagnostic 1, diagnostic 2, serial, chart, decode, and over M. Star nav for Jupiter is 4910.43 and Atlas Jupiter. So apparently that is Jupiter's address in the Federal Service.
Yeah, I was looking at the screen too. Like I was trying to figure out like where the coordinates lied, because it didn't make sense. But I'm assuming it's because of where they are on the revolution around the sun. So I didn't really pay attention to the negative and the positive because maybe it's negative, it's on the other side of the sun. Maybe it's a positive, it's nearer. And I did notice that the order of it was weird because we went Mars, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter.
Yep.
But there's one planet that wasn't on there, which is no longer a planet now. It's Pluto.
It's a planet, but it's technically a planetoid.
Yeah, but why list all the others but not Pluto?
Maybe because they didn't want...
Well, this was before the controversy of Pluto.
True, yeah.
That's why it was like, it was weird that it went from Mars, then Neptune, Uranus, then Saturn, and then Jupiter, because it kept bouncing around.
Yeah. I'm thinking just because Pluto is really small, it's not really that much of a big deal for them. In the books and in the anime, I mean, Pluto is where the bugs were found too, so who knows? But looking at the screen right here, Earth is like at the 6 o'clock, and then Jupiter's at like the 2:30. So
yeah.
Also, yeah. One thing that they should have in here too is like an X, Y, and Z coordinates, but they don't have that. It's just a preset. So maybe because they're not going anywhere too far, kind of like in Star Trek, where they're just like, oh no, we're just going around the block, we're just going to go to Jupiter real quick, and it takes them like 5 minutes.
So it's a preset like a radio station?
Yeah, kind of like that. Like, oh, where do you want to go today? Jupiter. Let's go to Jupiter. Okay, let me just punch in Jupiter. J-U...
It's like, man, there's so many commercials on Saturn. Let's punch in Jupiter.
Yeah, you know what? I'm tired of looking at the rings. I want to get some radiation from Jupiter real quick. But yeah, so it is a nice little, navigation thing, but it just, instead of a normal, XYZ thing, it just has a preset for Jupiter. So they're about to go to warp, and another thing that here's my little tirade. It's 20 minutes in. It may go a little long because I got things to say. I'm gonna throw this down. All right. So Star Drive. Star Drive looks like it is going to be. I'm going into the next minute a little bit as well too, because Star Drive looks like it is a wormhole sort of warp. It looks like it's actually making something in front of the ship that the ship gets sucked into. That it transfers, or transfers the ship from one place to another place. Warp, or like a wormhole, is a nice way of getting around because you open up one gateway and it opens up another gateway on another plane of space, kind of folding space basically. Think of Event Horizon if you want to learn a little bit more about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm going to talk about orbital mechanics. So, the captain actually says set in a design for Jupiter orbit. Now, if you are going to, okay, so Johann, let's say that you and I are in a ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we, in this theoretical ship, have warp drive. We are going to warp to Jupiter. I tell you, hey, okay, warp to Jupiter. Do you know what's going to happen?
No, I don't.
We are going to get to, say, if we're in orbit of Earth or something like that, or we're just standing on Earth or whatever, and we say we're going to warp to Jupiter. We warp to Jupiter, we're just going to be sitting where we are on Earth or something like that. We're going like we're going no miles per hour, we're going nothing. We're not speeding up or anything like that. Or if we're going on Earth, we're going the speed that it takes to orbit Earth. If you were doing a jump from Earth to Jupiter, you're still going the speed that you were when you were still in Earth. So say they just left dock. They're probably going, I don't want to say maybe 100, 200 miles per hour, maybe about, like 30 meters per second or so. Not too fast at all.
So it's like the Futurama thing where it actually moves the universe around you.
Well, okay, so it goes beyond that, though. So, like, say you jump out at a certain point. If you are going, like, 20 miles per hour, say they're going 20 miles per hour from the dock. If they warp to Jupiter, they're still going 20 miles per hour around Jupiter because the only thing has moved is the ship.
Okay.
So, when they get to Jupiter, they're still going 20 miles per hour. Now, I actually looked this up because I needed to find this out. To get a stable orbit around Jupiter, you need to go about, this is rough because I actually looked it up for two different ships, both the Galileo and Juno orbiters, which were orbiting Jupiter. The Galileo actually does a normal speed of around 48,000 meters per second, or about 107,388 miles per hour around Jupiter to orbit. That is to make a stable orbit around there. It's a dumb, weird elliptical orbit, not a perfect circle orbit, but that's what it needs to get that fast. Now, here it is, orbital mechanics time. Crash course, orbital mechanics. To say you wanted to orbit Earth or orbit any stellar body, if you were to you need to go faster than you need to fall. You're basically falling through space faster than it takes for that thing to pull you down. So that's why I'm saying if you're going 20 miles per hour around Earth, or as much as it takes to fly around Earth, and you go to Jupiter, you're not going fast enough. As soon as you get to Jupiter, you're going to start falling into Jupiter because you're going too slow to maintain that orbit.
Oh, okay.
So you know how like when you spin a yo-yo around and it does a complete circle around you,
around the world.
Yeah, kind of. Exactly same thing, same mechanic. If you slow it down, what does it do? It falls back to you, right?
Yeah.
Exact same mechanic. You basically need to go as fast as possible to maintain a perfect orbit. The Roger Young right now, when it leaves dock, is not going fast enough to maintain a perfect orbit. So as soon as it gets there, it's going to start dropping into Jupiter. That's my one thing. Number two, the Roger Young is maybe about 10 to 20 seconds away from the dock. It's going to do this warp drive in proximity of the dock, which includes, folding space, turning, 500,000 tons of starship through a wormhole into another part of space as well too. That is a huge gravimetric distortion. It could mess up a ton of stuff if it's close to anything. Which is,
so you're saying there should have been a blowback for being that close to the dock.
They should be, I mean, they honestly should be cruising for about an hour and a half, maybe speed up a little more, and then get maybe about, I want to say 100 to maybe like 1,000,000 or 2 kilometers away from anything, and then do a warp. Unless it's an emergency. Because, yeah.
So you're saying that because of, theoretically, because it's folding space around it, that it could either pull or push or do both, like pull and push away on whatever it is that's in its vicinity.
Exactly.
Like first it pulls it in and then it pushes it back because everything has to go back to the way it was. Nothing disappears.
Exactly. That's kind of how a regular wormhole would work. Now, it could also work like a starship, like a Star Trek kind of warp drive as well too. But I don't think that's the case because it looks like there's little to no time between warp and not warp. That way, they're basically folding space to surf on space and surf past the speed of light. But that's completely different. I'm not going to talk about that. If you guys want to talk about that, I'll get into like some after hours explanation of how warp drive stupidly works because I know about that bullshit. And I'm going to have to medic that out.
Yep.
But yeah, so basically they're not going fast enough to maintain an orbit because you cannot go fast enough. You have to maintain that falling speed to maintain orbit, and they're way too darn close. It just makes me, and I know Verhoeven didn't really look at it, but for me, I know very little about orbital mechanics because of Kerbal Space Program and a few other games. And I'm just thinking to myself, they're going to fall. They're not going to maintain. So what makes me think differently though is like later on in the next few minutes as well too, Carmen does show off where she is, and it is in Jupiter. But she's kind of high up, so the higher you go, the slower it takes to maintain that orbit as well too.
So maybe they only jump to a location that's safe enough to land in, quote unquote land, but so they don't fall in.
That's what I'm thinking as well too. Even still, being that close to the station is way too dangerous, especially if you're going to do your warp drive.
Yeah, okay, so we'll give it that the closeness of the dock is reckless. But I don't think where they land was going to be much of an issue because remember, it's Neil Armstrong that created that new mechanic of how to predict a projection of where you land so that they actually hit the moon. So maybe they actually use that because, the rotation of the Earth, the rotation of the moon, everything in its orbit, etc. Maybe they start to incorporate that with the planets that they know that they can land exactly where they need to be to still be in the vicinity of the planet that they want to go into. And it wasn't, it's a calculated risk more in their favor now because of something that someone created hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, I get that. My only issue is they're still going slow. If it takes Galileo, a small little orbiter, if it takes it needing to go 100,000 miles per hour to maintain a stable orbit, they're not going that fast at all to maintain a stable orbit. Again, it could be slower, faster, what have you, but it's somewhere in between that and being not in Jupiter's sphere of influence. So I'm not sure what that number is. It doesn't look like they're going fast enough, honestly.
Okay. Oh, one thing that I thought of because you threw it at me. In the anime, you said that Pluto was already, what's it called, where the bugs were, correct?
Yes, that's where they first found them.
Maybe that's why it's not on the thing because they already know it's a bug planet.
Ooh.
That it's no longer on the preset. Like, why would you want to preset a place that's a bug planet unless you plan on going there with some sort of attack?
That sounds really practical, yeah.
More plausible than Neil deGrasse Tyson having influence on what's it called? Starship Troopers.
Man, I'm gonna say this right now. Medic! People who don't say Pluto is a planet. I'm gonna bleep that out, of course. But I mean, I grew up in a time where you had 9. Count them, 9 planets. Pluto was one of them. Pluto is still technically a planet, a planetoid, what have you. It's around there. Yeah, there's other like little planetoids around the same size, around like Mars and the asteroid belt and all this other stuff. And yeah, we should probably include those too in stellar bodies that we could probably go to. But I don't know, man. I grew up with that.
Well, there's always going to be those discoveries that people believe this happened now instead of the way it was seen before. I mean, before it was that whole thing that the position of Uranus and then Pluto rotated between each other just because of their revolutions. Like at one point, Pluto will be closer than Uranus, and then another point, it's vice versa. Everybody has their theories. Some of them, it gets really dumb. I mean, you're into space exploration a lot.
Yes.
I'm into dinosaurs a lot. And I got really, really mad when people were saying that the Triceratops wasn't a later stage of the growth cycle of a Protoceratops, which really, really got me mad. Like, I'm not gonna say it, but that's my medic.
What about like the Brontosaurus? Did you ever get mad at that, where like the Brontosaurus was just a apple cob of like 2 or 3 dinosaurs?
I did the research on that, and I know that there was a dinosaur race. I read that a lot, so that could be entirely true.
Okay.
Because it was 2 guys that were just trying to one up each other, and they were trying to go for the biggest thing. So it's easily possible. Because the theories the proving ground with it is the bones don't match, or the bones match exactly at certain points. So you could have added an extra bone to make it taller, which I could see being done. Because if you read like the entire dinosaur race that was happening, they were really screwing each other, even destroying bones.
Oh, jeez.
So that other people couldn't discover them. So there was a lot of underhandedness. And so it wasn't all about discovery. It was a pissing contest. So that's where I can actually believe the fact that the Brontosaurus was altered because of these reasons. Like, it wasn't done in good faith. But the Protoceratops being like the juvenile stage of a Triceratops is complete BS, because the bones of the legs are smaller. Like, they grow somewhat, but the density of a human femur does not grow that much bigger. Like, if you're a kid, could you imagine if your femur grew 5 times bigger than what it was when you grew up?
Oh, heck no, man.
It'd be impossible. But then also where the horns come in, just it doesn't match up because the horns are bone. So the Protoceratops, the way its fin works, it just does not match up with the Triceratops. Same with the legs, same with a lot of things. But it's like saying me as a baby is the same version of you because you're a foot taller than me. I'm just going to use that example. Like, it doesn't make sense. We're 2 completely different people.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my medic. You can have your medic with the space travel. Sorry, it's a tangent.
No, it's totally cool, man.
But I'm just saying that new discoveries of science, people tend to go too far with these discoveries. A lot of times they're paid for. A lot of times it's just it's in unfact. There's no facts in it. It's unfactual. There's a whole study behind it. Like, they're pushed to make these discoveries just to increase their funding. So this could have been one of them with Pluto. But maybe it's downgraded to a planetoid to further increase the funding that is direly needed with NASA. But yeah, I can see it from your point of view. I can understand from NASA's point of view, like maybe they did it to have a new discovery, because there hasn't been one in quite a while from their branch.
Well, I did read something recently about a 9th planet actually being discovered kind of beyond the Kepler belt, which is the kind of snowball around the solar system that has a bunch of comets and everything. So, and that's like the farthest reaches of the solar system that things still are in the sun's sphere of influence. But one thing I will say about dinosaurs and the recent discoveries over the last 20 years or so, I am super glad that Tyrannosaurus has been made into that kind of sleek looking net thing instead of that doofy looking stand up with his tail on his butt look.
Yeah, well, I think they did just to increase its formidability.
Formidability?
Yeah,
Okay.
to make it seem like it was as scarce as it was, because more people were familiar with a T-Rex than they were with a Carnosaur. Or not Carnosaur. Dang it, what is that word? What is that one that's bigger than a T-Rex?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna say the one from Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, but that's not a real one.
No, it's not.
I think you're right. It is Carnosaurus or something like that.
Because I know they have a size chart of it, and it's like nowhere near as big as the biggest one.
Yeah, I just like it because it makes a Tyrannosaurus look less doopy and have his tail dragging on the ground to no, his tail actually is something that, counterbalances the front end and his giant jaws and everything. So it makes it look more streamlined, not like menacing, but like more feasible. Yeah, he's streamlined, he can hold his body up kind of thing.
Yeah. God dang it, why can't I find it all of a sudden?
Gigantosaurus? That
I
was
think
it.
that's it,
Yeah.
Yeah, Gigantosaurus is
Uh-huh.
the bigger one. The Spinosaur, I think, it is a carnivore. That's different. It doesn't have the same trade-offs as a T-Rex does. Because the Spinosaur, with the fin, gives it a different evolved trait, which allows it to move through water quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Even with its tail, it's more streamlined. That it looks like it came out of the water. Everything from like the T-Rex and up with the Gigantosaur, they look like land reptiles.
Yep.
And they had the trade-off of the bigger jaws with the smaller hands. All of them had that. And the Spinosaur has a little bit of a bigger hand considering the size of it. So they look like they came out of the water, possibly like an alligator type, and then they started walking on land.
Yep. All right.
So that's what I follow. You follow space. I follow prehistory.
Yeah, you gave me mine, I gave you yours.
Yeah.
This is a good episode. We each got
Yeah.
to rant on our own things.
Yep.
But that's where that minute ends, guys. Thank you for joining us for the Matt talks about space and orbital mechanics, and Johann talks about dinosaurs for about 20 minutes each. I'm sorry, 10 minutes each. But honestly,
really,
go ahead.
If anybody wants to engage in this conversation in the Facebook group, please do. I love talking about dinosaurs. I know there's bigger enthusiasts of dinosaurs out there. Love to meet them. Okay.
Yes, and actually, Kai did on our Facebook group post that he was really happy about us posting, talking about gravity wells in one of our last episodes, talking about how it's easier to get out of Moon's sphere of influence than it is Earth's sphere of influence. So he's probably going to engage us in this one specifically as well too.
More than welcome, more than welcome.
More than welcome. Please talk to us. We love talking about it. I love talking about it. Heck, I love doing it in Kerbal. But that's where that minute ends, guys. Johann, do you have anything else you want to talk about this?
It actually ends when Xander says steady.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Everyone's getting ready, and Xander says steady instead of, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, he goes ready, steady, and then that's where it ends.
That's not how I launch. I go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, and you actually do that on Kerbal on your own, which is hilarious.
Yes. You don't need to.
But you follow protocol.
Yeah.
Even on your own, you're going to follow protocol.
Pre-flight checklists need to be done. All right. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, I think I'm good on that one.
All right. Well, where can they find you, man?
Okay, you guys can find me on Twitch at JDASHD26, and it's the same as my Instagram. I also have a Twitter. I normally don't talk about it, but it looks like people are starting to find me on there. But it's OMG, It's Johann, Johann. I don't use it that much, but it looks like some people are starting to find me on there, and I'm starting to get more follows. And they're similar to the Instagram and the Twitter of the Roughneck Men, which is our Twitter page. But yeah, if you just want to go ahead and follow me, go ahead. It's normally going to be duplicates of my Instagram and all that because I hardly ever hashtag anything.
You know, I'm starting to think maybe we should have used fake names, but whatever, man. Real names all the way.
Yeah. Well, I created my Twitter like years ago, and then I just opened it up because of this podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have a Twitter. So I've just been using it.
And you guys can find me pretty much alt-tab Matt pretty much anywhere. Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. You can find pictures of me and my son. And I've been streaming a lot more Kerbal recently, which is why we talked about this a little more too, because I finally got that working again. But you can follow the show as Johann said, at the Roughneck Min on Twitter. You can go to our website, theroughneckminute.podbean.com, to look at any past episodes or show notes. You can join us on our Facebook group at the Roughneck Minute Billet, Billet, and continue the conversation. We also do have our YouTube channel up, so if you want to, for some reason, put us on instead of the website, you can look us up on YouTube and just listen to us on there as well, too. You have anything else you want to talk about, Johann?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, I've been one of your hosts, Matthew.
And I've been your other host, Johann.
And we'll see you on the Balance Troopers.